Alright, my Twitch seems to work. Okay. Spooky. Big spooks. What about OBS? OBS likes to... Alright, good. Got audio to the in-game. I already decided that I want to be more long range. Because everyone's too damn short range, I decided. I want to relearn long range hitting. I'm just glad the stream didn't explode. Because of all the Twitch nonsense. Not working, you know? You know. You know how Twitch doesn't work, Dar.
Yeah.
It don't work good. Yeah, this modder is like a... He wants me to avoid Smurms. Brightness and contrast. Ah, oh, that's so much better. Alright, good. Now I'm not gonna get blinded by my second one. All those muscles. Maybe the reason I started sleeping better is just because I made my monitor darker. That might be all it is. Less photons hitting my eyeballs. Makes a big difference. Elvol. Everyone likes Volk. I have been spy. Wish I had better audio of the SRM. It's way easier to dodge them. lot of missiles, as I said. I mean, a lot of missiles.
Oh my fucking god!
What's happening to you?
Sorry, I just did something. I didn't even know I did it, but I just fucking... holy shit. I just did a across the whole map snipe. And didn't even notice it was the dude I wanted to kill. But I just went bonk, and he's fucking
Long
dead now.
range killer.
I just plonked his ass.
Are you? Oh yeah, Dark. Are you one of those people who believe that a bolt-action sniper rifle is more precise than a semi-automatic sniper?
Depends on the type of... Depends on time zone, depends on a lot of things.
Yeah. But just the fact that a sniper would be bolt-action or semi-auto, that affects the accuracy somehow, basically.
Fuck no. No,
Yeah.
guns need to be... Guns... So, the thing about guns is... They are built to be accurate if they are built to be accurate, right?
Yeah. Like, a 50 cal's actually, like, people have sniped from a 50 cal before because they're accurate
Like,
on the first shot.
it's like if you try to take like what an M3 or was it M13 or whatever, like try to snipe with like a fucking machine gun, and then you try to snipe with a sniper rifle, and the sniper rifle's bolt action, and the M3's like a semi-auto or auto. And you're like, damn, this semi-auto or auto gun is not as accurate. Maybe because the gun's not built to be accurate. You know? I just fucking poked that dude. I think it's saying it's I ripped the sky, because I fucking did. I just...
Yeah, so, yeah, the speed makes it an issue, basically. I mean, that's what I don't like about the missiles in HunterNet, is you dodge them through sheer speed. You don't, like, it's not, your maneuvering's not very important at all. You just need to hit as fast as, like, you need to go. You need to hit, like, above 300 meters a second, and you'll dodge them. And if you try to be slower than that, and you're trying to, like, weave in between missiles, you'll get hit, like, a shit ton. And it's, like, very, obvious on battleship missiles, like, how hard they are to dodge up close compared to just going fast. It's just kind of how the missiles are designed. They're decently agile, they're just not very, quick. Their top speed's pretty low. They tend to just struggle really, really, really bad. Yeah, a semi-auto. Oh yeah, it costs way more. Is like, oh yeah, compared to the F-22, well, I don't think it's close in terms of a semi-auto sniper rifle. Because the F-22 is also at most a two-person fighter plane. And I don't think dedicated marksmen are warrant officers, but they're definitely higher tier infantry. I don't think they're WOs. Whereas your pilots are going to be WOs. Some of them might even be CWOs. They've been in long enough. Potentially, like, in charge of other WOs. Or at least in, like, a veteran. I don't know how long they want me to touch missiles for. I feel like... Alright, there. Yeah. The missiles. Yeah, it's really silly. It's alright. So the main thing Esper rooms do, they used to force people to maneuver a certain way because that was the best way to like avoid them. Really, it just forces you to go quick. That's kind of it. So if you like your targets going fast, I'll know about it. Right? Alright.
I fucked that dude. Alright.
Oh, I can't really. Yeah, why can't you snipe with an F-22? It has more range than a snipper. Riffer. I must go. It definitely hit. I heard. Missiles are mean.
I did it.
Yeah, that's a really good strategy. Just widening their... If you know they're gonna do a pass on you, just force them to widen their orbit. That's pretty good. That does work. The orbit widening. Very strong. Yeah.
Well, that out.
Not very accurate with pulls. It's almost like I never use them. A little. Ah, man, I'm just barely missing with it. I'm aiming so whack. Big fun. Oh yeah, and then the repair and kill's on too. I think Horizon's gonna have a hard time. Undid all the progress.
Bad thing. I could.
Oh, I lost track because of the red out. Oh yay! I finally lined up the thing. Yeah. Alright. Vulcan's Artism. Very big Tism gun. Only a Tism would use it. Alright, so I'm not doing racing because racing entails me actually learning how to do it in the first place. Which, it might be helpful. Alright, so we're gonna change. Well, this is great because I wanted to practice vols more with like long range. Oh, we want to go to Primordium. Even though I love how I'll be locked to 240 Hz. Alright, Darth, did you still exist?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I guess my probably just because I'm like trying to focus on this. Because I'm thinking. This is all a big thinking.
Oh. Volume just super low, I feel like it. Aha, yeah, I got. Yeah, that's what it was. My own volume. It's low. Why is your cockpit be like that loud? There we go. It's now audible. My bitrate. See, this is like a super easy target and I'm missing him a lot. Just because I don't know where to aim.
How about you be such a stop being such a goddamn dimit? Tis. Eh. Eh.
Oh, what are you doing, you bot?
Alright, more Hall.
I kind of miss when you could backstrap. Honestly, felt like you could like maintain it a bit better. I think. I don't know. I never thought backstrafing was really a problem. I guess.
Do I get now?
I might have to like about.
Alright. There you go.
Well, funny thing is, it's like testing a two-man team. If it was against someone like Boxall, he would have a really hard time. He does not like dealing with multiple people. Yeah. There we go. Just want to type it while I'm thinking about it. Silent running will become OP, and I won't notice a difference. It'll be so funny. It'll be like, man, this silent running, man, it takes off like all my assists. Like I can't do anything. I'm just like, it doesn't really affect me too. I've had all this stuff turned off for months.
I can do the complex in the afternoon.
Well, the main also Vulcan doesn't have the most visible tracer.
This time,
Well, the idea is to have a tank. Annoying AI. Leave me alone. While I try to relearn old weapons I never use because I thought they were so full. You can still kill, that's fine. No, cheap shots. But rep. Heat from rep from heat from bank. Get all the heat. Get. I kinda just miss backstrafe. I think it's like if someone asked me, do you prefer how power burning is right now, or do you prefer unlimited backstrafing? I think I'd be like, I think I'd prefer the unlimited backstrafing. I found it more fun to, like, attack people that would constantly backstrafe, even if I would lose a lot more. I kind of found that more fun than, like, fighting people who are very, very aggressive up until the moment they're low on energy, and then they use power burn as a clutch to escape you. Like, yeah. I think I prefer the backstrafing. At least then it feels like if people want to be very defensive, they can at least... And if it's effective, it's like, well, maybe make, like, the forward vector better instead of nerfing the back vector to, like, kind of... I kind of just preferred the uniform G-force anyway. This is kind of what I would prefer. For every axis to be uniform on G-forces. So that way, you decide how to move your ship. There's no, like, right way to move your ship. Because when you make, like, the top vector less tolerant, it means that, oh, there's a right way to move your ship now. Because you always want to go up. If you're going up a majority of the time, that's going to be better. Also, I kind of felt like that works for, like, the second faction more. If you want to have, like... the flying be different where you want roll, because the only reason to make the top vector more generous is to make roll more, even though rolls was already kind of important for but yeah. What's a great weapon for a bomber to use? So I'm thinking with like a 2v2, ideally. A flat, yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Because I was thinking with like a 2v2, the idea is you want one person being a DPS, you want one person being a tank. So I think a bomber of flak is probably the best. A gat could work too, but I think a flak or actually the rocks. If they are really good with the rocks, those work too, just because they're very energy efficient. So if they're good with rocks, because they're not supposed to do a lot of damage, they just need to survive. That's their purpose. So I think the flak is probably the best weapon. And then with you want a light fighter as well, and he should have like a more damaging weapon. So I'd say like a Vulcan or heavy cannon would be the best then. And that's what your light should have in like a 2v2. A light with Vulcan, and then a bomber with flak, and then The whole point is the light is trying to be really, really aggressive, and the bomber's just trying to stay alive and, like, put out damage when he can. And the light's basically... The bomber's in charge, and the light's doing whatever the bomber wants him to, essentially. So, like, you want them to go after the bomber because the light can just run away, and then once they go after the bomber, that's when the light should go in to support his bomber. And the bomber is the one who makes the decisions on, like, what to do tactically as a group. So, like, any movement, like, oh, we want to go here, that's up to the bomber's discretion. The light doesn't get to decide where to fly to. As a team. He can decide where he flies to help out his bomber, but the bomber is the one who's deciding what to do. As a team. And then, more specific flying is, like, that's up to each pilot. So, like, if they want to attack the base, though, the bomber has to, like, make that call, and the light, like, shouldn't make that call unless it, like, he knows it's just, like, yeah, it's convenient if he can get back to the bomber. You know, general. That's why you require good teamwork, because, yes, the bomber's technically in charge, but it doesn't mean the bomber is going to be right 100% of the time of what he says to do, and sometimes the light will have a better idea of what he can do that's more effective for, like, a little split second, and then he goes back to doing whatever the bomber wants him to. Light's team, I would say. And then if you expand it to more people, well, for a third person, someone like Daze Gambler, or any person that likes the swarm missiles, I think that's pretty good. And then... Ooh. And then for a fourth person, that's when you could probably have a healer, and it would make a lot of sense to have a healer, because you'd have 3 people he could, like, heal between. You could rotate people off better, as well as he just has more targets to heal, versus he's... Because if you only have 2 people, and one of them's the healer, it's like, it's very obvious who the healer is, and he's gonna get focused. And he's also going to be in the same spot all the time, because he has 1 target to heal. So he's gonna be a pocket medic, essentially. So he's never gonna want to move away from that person, whereas if at least 2 or 3 healing targets, he can at least move between people if he gets focused down. He can run away to a different teammate, as well as heal that teammate. He can find safety from it. And that would mean that I would recommend that your support, so whoever you're gonna have using either LRMs or SRMs, he takes a repair gun as well, just so he can heal your medic when he has to, as like a secondary medic. So your roles would be like a tank, a DPS, a flexibility that's mainly a support, a flex role, and then a dedicated medic, who may have something else he can take. It would be up to him. Like, he could also take, like, a gun, if he wants to. I would say a plasma would be the best, because that would work super well if he managed to sneak up on somebody, or help out, like, a teammate in a 2v1 scenario. He could sneak up and do a shit ton of damage, because his heal gun and his plasma gun are gonna have the same projectile speed. Not quite, but they're really damn close. So if he's, like, shooting a repair gun all day at teammates and he gets good at hitting them, he's gonna be really good with a plasma as well, so he can take advantage of the DPS of it. Even though it's not a fantastic gun in 1v1s, it's the worst gun in 1v1s, in my opinion. But he'll do very well to support somebody, and then once... If they ever focus on him, that's when he runs away to a teammate and heals them. And to me, that'd be, like, what I'd want. That's why I miss Renzo, because when we had Renzo, we kind of had... I was usually more defensive, Renzo was more aggressive, and Daze was supporting the whole time. So all we would need at that point was someone who really liked healing. And then we had, like, a very good... We had a really good 3-man and 2-man squad, but we didn't quite have a 4-man squad. And that's kind of why I really liked having Daze and Renzo as teammates, because they were perfect for, like, the composition of the squad. Even though Daze, most people fucking hate him because they don't think he's a good pilot. It's like, well, he's actually perfect. He's, like, the best support in the game right now, in my opinion. Like, no one's better at supporting than he is, technically. I don't know why you think he's a bad pilot. Like, you think he's a bad pilot because you interpret him to be low skill when he kicks your ass. and he ends up getting sometimes more kills than any of the people who are like direct fire and what. So you know, well, I always found it a little bizarre. People be like, "Oh, Daze, yeah, he's just annoying. He's not really good." Because people seem to think that the only skill in HunterNet is like 1v1 dueling or something.
It's not. It's working as a team.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's other things. Like there used to be more people playing defensively until they nerfed backstrafing, and then they added power burn, and then I felt like people who were like be very defensive, like they're gone. Like they either don't play the game or they change their play style. It's like that play style just died, you know. That's why I kind of don't 100% agree with like backstrafing being a all the time. It's really depends. To me, backstrafing was only a problem if they were using a gun with faster projectile speed than what you were using in turn. I mean, that's the only time it was a problem. Otherwise, I didn't think it was much of a problem, really. Because then it's just like, it just equalizes the fight. Also, if you're in a slower churning ship, so if you're using a heavy against a light that was being defensive, that would feel really uphill struggly. It's like, well, it's like kind of how it was. And that's kind of the reason why I don't like the projectile speed difference between weapons as much. Because I feel like that's kind of fucking the balance more than it should be. Because to me, I'm get the impression that projectile speed is like way too important to have like the fastest projectile speed weapon. Where it's kind of making every other stat kind of irrelevant when you're talking about people who are like, you know, really good at aiming and whatnot. Not necessarily the best, like, in skill level, just, like, specifically if they're really good at aiming, it's like, the flak feels a lot better just because you can hit more shots with. It's, if you miss a shot, it's more on you than the gun itself, whereas if you're missing with, like, a rock or a plasma, it's probably the weapon's fault. If you're missing with, like, a flak, like, that's entirely on you, because it's the easiest to hit with. It's like, you just, like, didn't shoot it accurate. That's kind of it. Or you didn't, like, guess someone's movement correct.
I finally know where the things are located. See the mines now.
The mines? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, remember?
Yeah, like I said, I definitely saw them. Can you shoot? You can probably shoot them to blow them up. Something.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
I'll get rid of those darn mines. Yeah, I'll kill a few. We had the perfect fucking team. I didn't really care, but it's like when I think about it, it's like actually we had a perfect team comp by sheer coincidence. I wasn't even trying to. It just happened spontaneously. So basically, I think Strike's fairly aggressive if he ever wanted to play in teams, though, if I remember. So, like, yeah. He'd probably be the best person if me and Daze were a team. Because I love playing defensive. But, you know. It's like, I think you can have the engine, like, forces be different per axis. I just think having the G-force tolerances be different is really I think having the forward vector be really strong and the back vector be really weak, I think that makes a lot more sense. Than just having the G tolerances also be different, because then it, like, limits the total amount of movement suddenly. So I don't know how the recovery from G's works. I don't know if it recovers more if you constantly, like, tap your, engine output, or if you maintain a steady, like, output, or if it recovers the most when you, like, don't do anything at all. I have no idea about that. Because I mean, while I would prefer, I think it'd make the most sense if you recover G's faster is when you give no inputs to your ship. I feel like that would be...
Yeah.
I don't know if it already works that way, but that's how I prefer it to work, if it doesn't already do that. It kind of feels like it does that, but I'm just not sure if that's actually how it works. Because I don't like games, especially spaceflight games, where you feel like if you just constantly move in directions, you just have, like, an advantage all the time, and you feel like there's no reason to, like, stop or just, like, hang up your movement a little bit. It's like, I don't like that too much. I kind of consider that just APM padding. Like, if there's never any, like, benefit to, like, not moving at all and just letting it drift, it's like, I kind of consider that just like, well, it's just an APM sync, kind of. Because doing something is just always better than doing nothing. It's like, that shouldn't be the case, in my opinion. Like, there should be, like, every now and then, it should be better to just, like, do nothing. And then go back to being, like, very, high action. It's like, I think a good example is, like, in Halo, it's like, every now and then your shields are gonna go down, so you need to, like, hide and cover for your shields to come back. You can't constantly be fighting stuff because you will eventually die. It's like you have to at some point, like, not be shooting. You just need to chill out and wait for your health to come back, and then you can go back in the fight. It's like, I kind of prefer that. The same goes for, like, multiplayer. It's like, sometimes, instead of trying to continue to fight someone when they get the jump on you, it's better to break off and re-engage and make it a fair fight versus an unfair fight, whereas in HunterNet it really feels like there's not even, like, much of a point to, like, playing defensively. If someone's aggressive on you, you're just aggressive on them, because that's better than trying to, like, be defensive and, like, re-engage them on your terms. Like, that doesn't seem to... I mean, no one really seems to do that. I just find really bizarre. Because it just makes it feel exhausting and more repetitive than it should be. You just start to get the feeling that everyone plays kind of the same. Which is what I kind of feel.
In HunterNet, they kind of do.
Because I felt like, I don't know, 6 months to, like, a year ago, that there was more variety in the people that were playing the game. It felt like people were playing more differently from each other.
Yeah, now it's kind of like they're the same. Do I have enough?
Everyone feels like... I feel like it kind of hurt the sandbox, basically. It made, like, less options, like, good and viable, and it, like, close-range, high-aggressive, like, combat, like, the meta, basically. Because that's essentially what the meta is. And I think, and then from talking with, like, Fernando or Boxel, that's what they want the meta to be. They want it to be close-range, high-aggressive, to be, like, what's best. It's like, that's what they seem to want. Whereas it's like, well, that's not what I want. I'd want, like, as many possible, like, tactics to be, like, viable, and then trying to balance it as best you can. And, I mean, a lot of people like to say, oh, you can't get the balance perfectly. I believe you can get the balance perfectly. I just think it takes a shit ton of work to get perfect balance. But I believe it's possible. I think too many people are just like, oh, you should give up with balancing because it's only going to get so good. It's like, well, I think balancing is something that you should be working on. Like, until you know it's, like, perfect. Or to where no one can come up with a way to make it more balanced. They can just... It's... The cures start being worse than the disease whenever there's a problem. And no one can come up with, like, any good ideas. That's, like, the only time you should, like, stop balancing them. And that's when, like, whenever a new thing comes out, that's when the balancing starts going back to work. Because it's like, alright, well, this new thing came and has, like, affect everything.
Alright, so... I want to get shift, but I don't have enough residual. Alright, it's fine. Okay.
Well, because if I was, like, in charge of balancing the weapons...
I'll get next loop.
So how I would do it is like I just have it where statistically every gun would have like an effective range where if you're fighting at that range, you have a statistically higher chance of winning. Yeah. So if you're using a long range gun and you're using it at long range, you would win like 6 out of 4 fights if you were both the same skill level. But if you were fighting at long range, you would win like a majority of the fights against someone who's the same skill. And then there'd be a certain range where a mid-range and long-range weapon, if you're fighting in between mid and long range, you'd have like the same chance to win the fight between the both of you. And with a short range, is that way, you have it where if you want to use a long-range weapon, you're constantly fighting to be far away. If someone is using a close-range weapon, they're constantly fighting to get close to you. And if someone's in mid-range, they're trying to, like, keep a medium distance. When they run against a short-range person, they want to stand off, and when they run against a long-range person, they want to close in. Because the closer they get to a long-range person, the worse off he's going to be. And the further they get from him, the better off he's going to be. So you have it where everyone's constantly fighting for an optimal distance whenever they fight each other. So if you want to be a very defensive player, you'd use a long-range weapon, probably. And that means if you wanted to take, like, a different ranged weapon as, like, a secondary weapon, you could either take it for, like, a DPS, like, buff if you use both weapons at the same time, or you could just have it for versatility, so if you're a sniper, you get to have a panic, like, short-range weapon when someone gets close. And then you sacrifice, like, some passive that would just make you better at long range. Although that's, like, a more tricky balancing thing, because Robocraft had this problem where snipers would always take a shotgun as a secondary, and then when someone would get close to them, they'd fucking blow them away with little skill. It was just, like, meta to take a shotgun, because the way Robocraft works is taking something else in your loadout gives you no penalty whatsoever to, like, the gameplay. It makes your robot a little bit weaker statistically, but there's no penalty on the player. It's like, it just makes your stats weaker. It doesn't change how you play the game. Whereas I think the big way to balance that, you need to make sure that the passives are good enough that people play differently when they have them. So Damp would be like a great passive, because you actually play the game differently when you equip it. And I think Boost is like kinda, not quite there yet, but like, Boost is like kinda close. Hole is a really shitty passive, because you don't do anything differently.
My question to you, do you think that the game will actually get to the standard that you are saying, or do you think that the game is going to be in the forever?
I think it's gonna be something, I think what I want is never ever going to happen. Even though it's what I want, and I think it's gonna go a completely different path that will still be good, it's just not what I want, and I feel like the comment will always be like, nowhere as good as it could be. Because I mean, before they announced the open world stuff, I was like, more hopeful that what I would want would happen. And then after they announced, like, what they want to do with the open world stuff, I'm just like, oh, I'm probably never gonna get what I want. Which is fine for me, though, because I still think they'll make something good. I just prefer it to be what I want. Because I feel like what I want is, like, more impressive to me, because I feel like it's not something that's, like, very common to have any kind... Like, not even just, like, flight games. I just say just any kind of FPS thing where you have, like, people who can learn multiple play styles, and they're all, like, equally good at the game. And then them winning or losing is based more on who they're matching up with than just their skill level. Like, people hard counter and soft counter each other based on their skill, not what their equipment necessarily is. More so. I kind of feel like that'd be better. Because like I say, like, yeah, the long-range weapon is better at long range, but it's only a little bit better at long range. Like, you're still only going to win 6 times out of 10. Like, that's not... You're not dominating a close-range guy if he's fighting you at long range with a close-range weapon. He still has, like, a 40% chance to win. Like, that's a good fucking chance to win a fight. If you're at a disadvantage, you still got a 40% chance. Like, goddamn, that's pretty fucking good. Like, a lot of people would still take that fight. they would lose the match though because they'd get 10 kills and the long range guy get 12. But that's really fucking good. Like, I think that's really well balanced. Because you're giving people an advantage for using a weapon like how you intend it to be, but the person who's disadvantaged is only a little bit disadvantaged. It's not like so extreme. It's not like a sniper rifle versus a shotgun, where the difference is so extreme in effectiveness that the sniper will like get 20 kills and 0 deaths. If it's a sniper versus a shotgun. Like, in like most FPSs, you'd get like a 20 kill streak and then that'd be it. It'd kind of cool. Like here, it's like, nah, you still got a good chance to win, because I want to make the projectile speeds way, way closer to each other, and instead it's the DPSs at range that are gonna be the main difference. I mean, I think the way I would do that is like, well, Vulcan would be identical to how it is, and hello, you toxic. I'm live on Twitch, so I'm about to stop it, though.
Wow.
Playing Hunter Nuts against poor, innocent AI.
Yes. So, did you like the announcement of DC Comics?
Oh, I did. I looked at that. It's like, I don't really care that much, though, but it's very disappointing.
It's extreme.
Yeah.
You should have heard my colleague, the French guy. Oh my
god.
he
was probably really upset.
I just got annoyed. I'm like, really?
He was raging in French. I have never heard her like that, him like that before. Just so you know how disturbing it was.
Well, for me, the main thing I said, it's like, it's not a huge deal though, but I just think it's very distracting from like what makes the character more important.
Distracting. Have you seen the response already on it?
Oh, it's probably a little spoopy.
There's a complete meltdown going on now. So.
Yeah. Well, because Marvel's been doing the same thing where they've been trying to be more like woke-ish, you know.
But we're talking about Superman here, which is the most iconic figure together with Batman if it comes to DC.
Like,
so they made a big oopsie here.
Could you imagine if they made a comic where Batman and Superman were gay for each other?
Wow.
It would be so weird.
The meltdown is not complete. Like the meltdown is not fully complete. Like they touch Superman. It's like Jesus.
I feel like you should.
Ending one bit.
Are they gonna make an alternate universe comic where everyone who is straight is gay or whatever? Everyone just switches. Yeah. So anyone who would have been straight is now gay, basically, in the whole comic universe. Yeah, I guess.
Because Catwoman in the story, Catwoman is gay. She's a lesbian for.
Yeah, so she would become straight, and she'd be very pissed off because basically everyone would be gay, so she could never fuck. That'd be fun.
It's in the reverse.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we're having Tismy conversation. Because the DC comic thing.
But you literally need to hear my colleague about. He was literally raging in French. I was like amazed.
I know what German rage sounds like. It just sounds like German.
That guy is close to the 40. He has like a daughter. His wife is now pregnant of a second one. It's like you should have heard him. It's really amazing. Like he was even more concerned than I was. That is weird.
I miss my Baxter. Still.
He was like, but that's fucked and this and this. And...
I wonder what a Russian would found out.
Rush B.
I'll just murder all of you. How about that?
How about we murder you first? How about we murder you first?
Like, chunking.
The only person allowed to kill me is me.
Also, Days, what the fuck, dude?
Oh,
The
I'm just
fuck
basically
of
causing
bullshit
like
are
an
you claiming
absolute
here?
massacre.
Jesus, Days. The fuck of bullshit are you claiming here all?
Did the game just crash?
Yeah, what did Days say?
What, and channel for mute lunatics.
Oh, I can't look at it right now.
Jeez, fucking Christ, Days. I mean, I told you were smart, but now he shows you literally the opposite, boy.
Wow. Big sad.
Yes, and how many more do have a gun?
Wow.
We use the F-16 in Belgium, guess what? They use a machine gun. TISM. F-22, they have one as well normally.
Yeah, 'cause
Guess
there's
how many missiles they can carry?
all these
Not
tisms out in the wild who believe that a bolt-action sniper rifle is more precise than a semi-auto when there's no difference in that category.
The precision is decided by its fucking user how much he can use it. Doesn't matter if it's bolt action or semi.
All that affects is rate of fire, basically. Potential rate of fire, because they can still decide to just not shoot it really quickly. That's why semi-autos are really good, because you decide how fast you want to shoot it. So if you're a really good sniper, and you think you can get, like, killing an overkill of a sniper rifle and kill 4 people within 1 second, you can do that. But if you're shit, then you can just snipe them, like, one at a time, very precisely. Even if you had a semi-auto. I think the only reason that bolt actions are still around is I think bolt actions are typically higher caliber than a semi, because you wouldn't want a semi 50 cal sniper because the amount of fucking recoil would just be like completely unviable to where the rate of fire would be similar to like a bolt action anyway. So there's just very little practical reason to make a semi-auto 50 cal sniper rifle. But a bolt action 50 cal sniper rifle, it's like, yeah, you just, if you learn how to like bolt it really fast, it's like the same fire rate you could get. It's just a little bit more skillful, but you already have to be so skilled as a sniper anyway that that little bit extra skill you need just to load the weapon is like very insignificant, I would say, to
Hey,
what you're
Days.
already doing.
Facts. Fun facts. The most advanced fighter jets still have internal machine guns and cannons.
Yeah.
Because high-tech weapons cannot compete against that still. So,
Well, in my opinion, I think low-tech weapons are very underutilized.
advanced fighter jets like the F-35 carry an array of sophisticated weaponry, but those jets are also still equipped with internally mounted guns for threats that high-tech weapons can't counter.
Yeah, like anything that's armored, typically. Or, you know, protected against, like, anti-missiles.
Read above where, boy?
That's gonna bully. Yeah,
But since it seems a gun was needed for CAS, they kept the tradition. Can you translate CAS for me? Because CAS has multiple translations. Close air support.
Yeah. That only has guns. Doesn't have a very many smart units.
So, Days, your argument about dogfighting, that is close air combat. If it's support or straight on combat, it's a dogfight. Basically.
Asteroid!
Come on.
Oh, that's the other thing I'm gonna find out today. I'm gonna find out if my Twitch exporting is broken or not.
It's still broken normally. I checked yesterday, it was still broken.
Maybe it works today.
Have no more fucking loops this time. I can't.
Gonna
fuck
find
up
out.
now.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that they were using machine guns for this even. Days. Let me quote. Where is it? So, that's all about the drone thing, but it was hear about... These are machine guns designed to bring down cruise missiles and jet fighters, and more other stuff. So they seem to be taking out cruise missiles with machine guns as well. So yes, it's a missile counter to some degree. But Days, I have someone from the other side in the family, where my father is married with my stepmother, and on the stepmother's family, basically, so not our biological family, but there is someone who graduated as a jet fighter pilot, and he was elected, or selected rather, to proceed for training as an astronaut for the ESA. So, yeah, when you say dogfighting is dead since the Cold War, I was like, he has no idea what she's talking about, literally. Only bombs. Wow, that's a bumper, boy.
Bummer. Alright, I'm gonna end my Strom now.
It's
That
probably, that's
Strom
probably a
too
hybrid,
long.
the Chengdu.
You have a go.
Is it a hybrid?